can't see. I can't see. Come on, please. What the is going on? Did I break it? Today we're talking about IBM Cloud. Now I've been living, eating, and breathing AWS for the past 4 to 5 years daily, and I thought it was time to expand my horizons a little bit and see what else was out there. Now I'm literally starting from zero. I've never researched IBM Cloud, and I thought this perspective would be interesting for other AWS users wondering what else was out there. Now this experiment will focus on several key things. First, does IBM Cloud have service parity with AWS? For example, if you consider DynamoDB or Lambda, does IBM Cloud have direct equivalents to those things? Second, is IBM Cloud cheaper than AWS? Third, does IBM Cloud make it as easy to get started as it is with AWS? Number 4, is IBM Cloud as performant as AWS? And number 5, if I'm an AWS user looking to switch to IBM Cloud, how hard would that actually be? All right, let's get started. All right, here we go. IBM Cloud. All right, I'm assuming we have to create an account. $200 credit, not bad. I wonder if they have the same like free tiers that AWS has. Let's see about answering that first question of whether we have service parity with AWS. So first I'm gonna look and see if there's something equivalent to Lambda. Guessing it'd be under compute, bare metal, no, serverless, functions. Functions by IBM, that sounds like a likely suspect. Functions as a service. Okay. Scale it automatically and pay nothing when it's not in use. Yep, that's Lambda. Now, is there a DynamoDB equivalent? I'm guessing it'd be under databases. Elasticsearch, Mongo, Postgres. Okay, so they have like an RDS equivalent. I'm seeing pretty close to 100% parity so far. DataStax looks like the closest thing. Do they have more options than AWS? I didn't actually expect that. Oh, interesting. So some of these are provided by an external company. So it's almost like a marketplace where like IBM has their own offerings and other companies can somehow integrate their service into IBM Cloud. Okay, it seems like there's a lot of comparisons between DynamoDB and IBM Cloudant. So I'm guessing Cloudant is and it's the first database in the list. So I'm thinking this is probably the closest thing. Let me know if it's not. Let me know if there's a closer fit. Okay, I'm going to create the instance. Okay, so we're going to make what do we call the serverless functions again? Functions, okay. It's called IBM Functions. Is the equivalent to Lambda. Oh, okay, there's an IBM Cloud CLI. That makes sense. I was wondering about that as well. Oh, I wonder, can we download the CLI via Homebrew? Let's see if the CLI is available in Homebrew. You want to help me out? You want to help Daddy with IBM Cloud?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you think it's better than AWS?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right, let's find out. IBM Cloud CLI is available via Homebrew, similar to AWS CLI. That's if you're using a Mac. What's the database called again? This is bad. Cloudant. See, my Cloudant instance is ready. Okay, so it looks like it's ready. Service credentials. Connect to an app or external consumer. Okay, is there a way I can look at my data in the UI similar to how I would with the AWS console and Dynamo? I don't see one. Yeah, okay, so IBM actually in their marketing literature, they compare DynamoDB directly to Cloudant. Okay, so point being, I'm barking up the right tree, it sounds like. So yeah, so AWS has 4 regions, 2 in the East, 2 in the West. IBM Cloud has US South and US East. Is this documentation not? You have to install a plugin to get the cloud. Okay, IBM Cloud plugin install. Okay, I don't know what that does, but we can do this now, I'm assuming. Target organ space must be specified. What the heck is it? What the hell is that organ space? We're in a different universe. I have no idea what an organ and space are. You don't have any target namespace. Create a namespace. Okay. Let's create a namespace. That sounds like a good idea. Let's go to the getting started for Cloudant. Yeah, the web UI is definitely not like one-to-one. I mean, it's some of the concepts are similar, but it's definitely a different experience. Let's just peruse through the help, the CLI help. Creating and populating a database. Okay, this sounds good. Disclaimer, this tutorial doesn't use the most efficient Python code. Okay, I didn't do this part. We need to create service credentials. Okay. So are these global service credentials or are they just for Cloudant? New credential. We are a manager. Service credentials 1. Okay. We got our service credentials created. Okay, I think I know how to get them. Okay, there's my credentials. So they have a concept of CRN like kind of like ARN, I guess, in AWS. And you have an API key, you have a username and an API key and a host. Is that the trifecta you need to authenticate? Okay, yeah. Username is password API key? Yeah, it is. Oh, wait, what? I don't know what's going on. Okay, I see username. I don't see password. I see API key. I think I'm ready to start writing some Python code. Do you know how this works?
Yeah.
Yeah? Can you help me? Okay, URL, I know where that is. Is the password the username? Okay, what else do we need? The stuff. And the username, the API key? I don't know. We'll find out. Verify created successfully. I guess we could run this now. Nope. Unauthorized free. Okay. Yeah, so something's wrong with the username and password. Oh, examples. Okay. So wait, these examples use a deprecated library? The password field in the credentials is like legacy. So maybe we need to use, this is like the new way of auth, and we need to use IAM, account name, and API key. Okay, maybe that's what I need to do. What is account name? Yeah, they're throwing a lot of terms at us. I think I need to use this one. I'm very, very doubtful that that's what we need to do there. Let's run that. Failed to exchange IAM token with Cloudant. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what account name is. Okay, it is the host field. It is a part of the string before .cloudant.com. Okay. Pfft. Nice. And I don't have a .cloudant.com. They're assuming there's .cloudant.com at the end of this, but it's actually something else. Cloudant nosqldb.appdomain.cloud. So I'm assuming it's everything Bluemix and everything before that. Let's try that. Okay. Go. Oh, we got it. All right. We created a database using a Python script. Progress. That was not intuitive at all. I don't know if there's like a, I mean, not that the AWS documentation is much better, but like, I don't know if there's some prerequisites I was supposed to read before going through that tutorial or what, but like, there were some curveballs in there. Yeah, the terminology just threw me off. Like, how are you supposed to know that account name is the host field of your credentials minus the, dot whatever. Not super impressed with that process. All right, let's see if we can populate with some data. Okay, so we're gonna create some sample data. We're gonna comment out the database creation logic for next time because it's already there. So we're gonna loop through the data. Okay, so we're gonna.
Daddy.
You want to help?
What's it?
You want to help with IBM Cloudant? Okay, so I think we have our full script ready. Let's see what happens if we run this. So we connect. We already tested that. We create the database. We tested all that. All right, now we're going to delete the database and close the connection. Does that still work? Yep. All right, next step is how do we get a function or serverless function to load data from this database that we've created? Yeah, I'm curious to see if there's a concept similar to roles and policies in AWS. We'll see. All right, so now we successfully created and retrieved data from a Cloudant database. And now I want to see if we can kind of do the same thing in a IBM serverless function, which should be a matter of copying and pasting the code we already wrote and putting that in some kind of shell that the IBM functions expect, kind of like Lambda. That would be my expectation. I don't know what we're going to run into in terms of permissions and roles and all that stuff, so let's check it out. Yeah, so there's a tutorial specifically for what we're trying to do here, so that's good. What is whisk.system? I don't know what that means. Also, can we write functions in Python? Binding the package to your Cloudant database. Okay, there's some concept of binding credential or binding a package. I don't know what's going on. This is honestly a lot more different than I thought it would be. I thought they'd kind of be chasing each other and kind of always copying each other, and there'd be like they're basically the same, just the terminology is a little different. In terms of the services available, it seems like there's pretty close parity. but like the implementation or how you kind of set up these services seems to be significantly different. I don't know what's going on. I think this doc might be for something slightly different than we want, maybe. Let's just start from the beginning. Okay. Create an action. Okay, so there's a concept of actions. I'm curious what languages they support. Oh, they also have a service called API Gateway. There's your Parity. Same function, same name. No pun intended. Okay, let's see what the runtimes are. Okay, Python. What? No Java? Oh, Docker actions can be created with the CLI. Okay, so that's interesting. So you need Docker to be involved if you want to use Java or .NET. That's not the case with AWS. You can be completely Docker free. That's interesting. But yeah, anyway, they support Python, so I'm going to choose Python. All right, okay, so we have a Python action and we have an inline code editor similar to AWS. Now what do we do? Okay, so I've invoked my first action, function action. So what if we just copy pasted the code we wrote in VS Code into the action? I wonder if it would work. Probably, right? Yeah, it's using, I guess you're manually specifying credentials, so okay, we got hello world. Okay, yeah, it worked. Yeah, okay. We created a serverless function that talks to a Cloudant database. I am curious about the auth mechanism where right now we're manually or like explicitly specifying our credentials in the code, which you'd never do. So I'm curious how you manage that. Like, and in AWS, this would be handled by roles. Like your Lambda would have an execution role, and that execution role would have to be granted a policy that gives it permission to read from the Dynamo database. So yeah, I'm curious what the equivalent is here. Let's dig into it. You can use IBM Cloud Functions CLI plugin to bind a service to an action or package. If you do not bind your service, you must pass your credentials each time you use the action or package. Okay, this is the key. So bind any IBM Cloud service to any action. When a service is bound, a new parameter is created on your existing action that contains a service instance credentials. So are there no concept of roles here? Okay, so IBM Cloud Functions service bind makes your cloud service credentials available to your Cloud Functions at runtime. That makes sense. How do I use that in the action code? What are org and space? Okay, okay, now the website's up. Well, what do you make of this? Is this a regular occurrence? What the hell is going on? Did I break it? Sorry. It's literally not loading anymore. I don't know what to do. Oh, I can chat with Watson. Why is the site broken? Is there an outage? Oh, okay. Watson understood me. My cat will fix it. Cloudant. I can't see. I can't see. Come on. Please. Sometimes I get help. Nope, no outage. I think the Cloudant part of the UI is down or something. Okay, we're back. There's like this concept of service credentials that are attached to a given service. Kind of figure out a way to a means of vending those to, or making those available to another service. Now, okay, I think I have the permission set up. So now I think what I have to do is grab that parameter inside the function code and use that. Okay, I think we did it. Refresh, no parameter. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. Okay, so how do we use it now? It's showing the credentials in the UI, which, I don't know, that doesn't seem great. AWS avoids that entirely. Like, it's completely under the hood. You never see the credentials. You just give the authorization to read from the database to the execution role of the Lambda, the credentials are completely obfuscated from you. You never see them. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Okay, so there's a dictionary passed to the function. Okay, I see. Okay, so that worked. Interesting. What? Okay, there we go. It works. I wouldn't call that process easy. Maybe AWS is just as confusing for newcomers. I don't remember it being quite that bad. I remember there were more tutorials and resources to get me started. Okay, anyway, so the last things we want to look into are performance. So we're going to benchmark or profile the performance of DB writes and reads in Cloudant and kind of compare those to what I've seen in DynamoDB. For the performance comparison, we're going to look strictly at Cloudant database writes and reads. It's really hard to profile and compare performance with AWS because, I mean, there's so many services, we can't compare all of them. So I think we're just going to focus on the database that like most people will use, which in AWS is Dynamo. In IBM Cloud, it seems like it's Cloudant. Okay, that's interesting. I'm actually getting read and write times that are basically an order of magnitude larger than what you get with DynamoDB. I'm actually getting like roughly 355 milliseconds for writes, and then and they're all pretty much in that ballpark. And I'm getting like 380 milliseconds for reads, which if I'm measuring this right, that's not great at all, actually. I'm probably doing something wrong. Okay, this is future me jumping in here, and yes, I had an egregious bug in my profiling code. After I fixed that bug, performance of Cloudant is actually really, really good. Writes were typically like 10 to 20 milliseconds, and reads were incredible, actually. They were 7 to 8 microseconds. That's microseconds. So writes are roughly in line with what you get with Dynamo, maybe a little faster. Reads are several orders of magnitude faster, it seems like. So that's pretty incredible. I didn't expect that. All right, back to the video. The only thing we have left to look at is cost. So let's take a look at function actions versus Lambda and also DynamoDB versus Cloudant in terms of cost. So it looks very cheap. It's a small fraction of a cent, 0.00017 per second gigabyte. Let's compare that with Lambda. Okay, it's very close. So Lambda is charging for requests as well. Okay, yeah, so IBM Cloud doesn't seem to charge per request, just gigabyte seconds of runtime, whereas Lambda seems to charge based on gigabyte seconds of runtime and number of requests. So I would say they're roughly equivalent, actually. And if you don't have a lot of requests, if that 1 million requests is not a huge factor for you, Lambda would be cheaper. It could be the case that Lambda is slower, and even though it's cheaper per gigabyte second, it's more expensive in the long term because it's slower. That's also possible. But I would say they're pretty comparable in terms of price. I thought IBM Cloud would be substantially cheaper. It doesn't seem to be the case. Okay, what about Dynamo versus Cloudant? Let's just assume on-demand capacity. And so you're going to pay 25 cents per gigabyte month in US West 2. That's the thing we care most about, I think. And the first 25 gigabytes stored per month is free. So like, yeah, the vast majority of people are probably not going to exceed that. Cloudant, free 1 gigabyte trial. What? Yeah, these are really hard to compare. There's 3 different tiers for Cloudant and IBM Cloud, and each one has a different pricing model. So it's, yeah, kind of hard to compare. Now, the transaction engine, which is, it seems like is the top tier, is the exact same as DynamoDB. It's 25 gigabytes free, and then after that, it's 25 cents per gigabyte a month. But then the write and read capacity, the cost for storage is almost identical. I don't see compelling evidence that IBM Cloud is substantially cheaper. I could be wrong about that, but based on what I've seen, I don't think it is. All right, so quick conclusion here. We had 5 things we wanted to look into at the beginning of this experiment. First, is there service parity with AWS? And I think the answer for the most part to that is yes. It seems like for any given AWS service, there seems to be an IBM Cloud equivalent. Definitely for DynamoDB and Lambda, there are. Is it generally cheaper than AWS? I think largely the answer is no. I think it seems like the prices are mostly comparable, it's really hard to compare apples to apples because the pricing models are slightly different. So yeah, I would say generally, is IBM Cloud cheaper than AWS? I would say no. Is it as easy to get started as it is with AWS? It's hard to answer because I have a bias toward AWS and I'm familiar with it. I would say it's probably not substantially harder. I was really confused when I was setting everything up with IBM Cloud, but I remember being the same way with AWS. So I think they're probably on par with each other. I'm kind of giving it the benefit of the doubt here. I got very frustrated setting everything up, but yeah, I don't know, that may be kind of par for the course for cloud providers these days. How does the performance of IBM Cloud compare to that of AWS? Again, I had a pretty big bug in my profiling code for Cloudant, and actually Cloudant performance turned out to be really, really good. So I would say this is a huge advantage of IBM Cloud over AWS DynamoDB. And I was coming into this expecting to see cost advantages. I wasn't really expecting to see performance advantages, but here we are. So yeah, IBM Cloud, Cloudant, very performant. If an AWS user wanted to switch to IBM Cloud, how easy would that be to do? I think it would be fairly easy once you understand IBM Cloud concepts. I think the hard part is figuring out how you do the same things in IBM Cloud that you do in AWS. I think once you got a handle on that, it'd actually be not too bad to migrate everything over. Yeah, overall, I thought it was an interesting experiment. I learned a lot about IBM Cloud. Definitely not in a rush to switch from AWS. You know, it's not cheaper. I got really frustrated learning it, and I think there's a few quirks that I wasn't too fond of, but yeah, it's interesting to get a different perspective. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it too. As always, the code examples are in the description below. Hope you guys liked it. See you in the next one.